There is a common question that usually comes up around the topic of computers, PCs or Macs. Although the question seems simple on the outside, the tidal waves of devotion from users of the products have sparked quite a commotion. The question is not really, do you use a PC or a Mac, but instead, which one do you think is better? Although the history of the earlier computers spans back all the way to the 1940s, we'll simply start with the earlier computers that featured GUIs, which simply means graphical user interfaces. While it is claimed that Windows stole the idea from Apple, both companies were influenced by the Xerox Alto, which was a personal computer invented in 1973. Although it was the first in the line of computers with graphical interfaces, a high price tag and clunky interface slowly brought it to its demise. Apple developed a similar system a few years after the release of the Alto, showing improved features where the former had lacked. The Alto did not have a system that allowed free-moving files. This task had to be done with a move button on the keyboard. Similar methods were also needed for copying files, resizing windows, and so on. Apple improved upon these features and sold with a price tag that was much lower than that of the Alto. Windows soon followed with a similar approach of including a GUI, and the years slowly passed with more and more innovations in this sector.
It is now the year 2014, and Microsoft and Apple effectively own the computer industry. Windows computers still claim most of the market due to popularity of mass use throughout corporations. However, Macs have been steadily growing, mostly in the area of personal use. So what about computer preferences among the youth of today? What systems are CCA students using in their daily high school lives? Well, we're not really sure what CCA students use as a whole, but we can sure tell you about the seniors.
We randomly selected Mr. Hartley's AP Government class and Mr. Hayden's Stats class. Even though the choices were random, both of these classes contained mostly seniors. We asked them a few simple questions trying to see whether there were any patterns that could be associated with computer preference. We wanted to know how many hours of sleep a person got, how many hours in a day did they use their computer, preference between computers, and what their family actually owned. We also asked about their opinions about how tech-savvy they are and what kind of computer they personally bought themselves.
The results were interesting. With 40 people in the stats class and 39 in the government class, the stats class averaged 6.85 hours of sleep, while the gov class averaged 6.65. Stats students averaged 3.4 hours of daily use, with the minimum usage of 0.5 hours and maximum usage of 10 hours. Government had an average of 3 hours with a minimum of 1 hour and maximum of 9 hours. The computer ownership count amounted to a total of 81 Macs to 96 PCs in stats. Government had 80 Macs to 117 PCs. Preference-wise, stats students had 26 people who preferred Macs and 14 whom preferred PCs. Government had 21 people who preferred Macs compared to 13 PC users. 5 people were undecided. In the case of the gov students, however, there were more people who preferred both types of computers rather than just one.
There's one ring to rule them all.
Overall, 59.49% preferred Macs, 34.18% preferred PCs, and 6.33% preferred neither or undecided.
When asked whether a student considered themselves tech-savvy, there seemed to be a shift in answers. 42% of PC users replied that they were somewhat tech-savvy, and 50% replied that they were very. 38% of Mac users said they were somewhat tech-savvy, and 41% replied that they were very. However, while only 8% of PC users felt that they were not very good with computers, nearly 21% of Mac users felt that they were not comfortable with computers. This is a giant leap from the difference in percentage from the previous two, although it may have resulted from an unclear definition of what tech-savvy really meant to everyone in the first place.
National statistics indicate that Mac users are 21% more likely than PC users to consider themselves tech-savvy, while PC users are 43% more likely to consider themselves the opposite. Because sleep might be correlated to how many hours students use computers, data was also collected on the amount of sleep students usually have. Data from the National Sleep Foundation states that in grades 9 through 12, 62% of students get less than 8 hours of sleep, while at CCA, nearly 80% of high schoolers state that they get less than 8 hours of sleep.
While it seems that most families are dominated by PCs, Macs have placed a firm grasp on a large majority of students at CCA. As time goes on, it could be possible that the next generation of workers will be Mac users rather than PC users. Windows 20 years from now may be that operating system used by the minority, just like Macintoshes nearly a decade ago. However, as of right now, both operating systems have enough processing power for the everyday apps that high schoolers use, such as Word documents and browsing sites such as Facebook and YouTube. It is only when we go into the more advanced user environment can we talk about Linux.